Hey everyone, Ranger Ted here, and this is a video highlight reel for episode 2 of the Wonder Outside podcast. The reason I'm doing the video highlights is because I think there's a visual quality to this that will entice you and your friends and your loved ones to come and listen to this show. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about episode 2 in about a 5-6 minute highlight reel here. And my wonder guide for episode 2 is none other than New York Times bestselling author Tim Johnston. He's also an amazing carpenter. He's a good longtime friend of mine. He's from Iowa. And Tim has an amazing amount of words. He is a wordsmith. He's a gifted storyteller. And this episode with Tim is really amazing. And we talk about so many great, cool things, so much inspiration in the outdoors. I mean, we go down Iowa rivers. We talk about trestle bridges. We go to the Rocky Mountains where he was inspired to write his best-selling novel, Descent. We go back to Minnesota and Iowa where his current novel, called The Current, takes place. And my conversation with Tim takes place in the lovely Silverlake meadow pre-COVID-19, and we sat out there and had a good old Midwestern talk. And what else do we talk about? We talk about Piedmont towns. We talk about elk baths. Yes, I said elk baths. We talk about, he said this, copses of aspens. That's a tricky phrase, but I encourage you to try it. We talk about ledges and cliffs and mesas and promontories and the way we describe those things in our language. We talk about Stephen King and Cormac McCarthy. We talk about canoe camping and what to do if a storm comes up. We talk about, did I say the Rocky Mountains and the 14ers? We talk about next adventures in Canada and Yosemite. We talk about going to see the glaciers. We talk about Burning Man. He and I have both been to Burning Man, and there's a little fun experiment you can do at Burning Man that involves nothing other than being on a bike and closing your eyes. And so tune in to Wonder Outside episode 2 to hear wordsmith, super smart, super amazing writer, carpenter, Tim Johnston. The other segments in episode 2 include the 3x3 Main Street Challenge, starting in Ventura, California this time, at a place called the Nature Grill and Juice Bar, right in Ventura, California. And we describe places you can go that are 3 minutes from there, 30 minutes from there, three hours from there. And you're going to have to tune in to find where those places are. But that's your 3x3 Main Street Challenge for episode 2. In Art Meets Nature, we talked to none other than my super amazing composer, singer, songwriter, musical genius, segment expert, DJ Shark. Shark is so fun, and he's got great insight about our music, and we're going to pick a song this time. I chose this song. It's This Land Is Your Land. This Land Is Your Land by Woody Guthrie. And we break down that song and its importance in its message, and how Woody was inspired to write that song, and some of the interesting backstory about the lyrics of that song, and some of the publicized lyrics about the song, and how about Pete Seeger and Springsteen singing it at the Obama inauguration parties. And it's just, I mean, after the John Denver song, this song for me had to be number 2. Yeah. This Land Is Your Land. I mean, we could also call this podcast, This Is Land Is Your Land. And finally, there's a No Planet B section when the word says exactly what it is. There's no Planet B. And in this episode, in episode 2, we talk about global warming, climate change, global warming, same thing, and that those things are not the same as weather. Weather is just a function of climate and where you're located. Global warming and climate change is threatening our very existence as humans, the existence of the entire planet. And what in the heck are we going to do about it? And that's the goal of There's No Planet B, is to give you something you can do right now. That's really important to me to stress that this podcast is useless if I can't give you some actionable things to take away from it. Go outside and try this hike. Try reducing your plastic footprint. Try reducing the amount of carbon you're putting into the air. Engage your kids off screen somehow, and we give you resources for that. And one of the best resources I talk about in this episode, in the podcast, is a group called Supernature Adventures, supernatureadventures.com. Check out their activity pamphlets and maps and navigational cool activities. And also you can go plant some milkweed to save a monarch butterfly, and the people at saveourmonarchs.org can help you do that. So let me check my notes here. Did I miss anything? Canoes, Stephen King, trestle bridges. No, pretty good. So, I mean, that's all waiting for you in this podcast. Go check out the podcast. Go to the website, wonderoutside.org. Go to your Apple thing and say, Wonder Outside. Ask Alexa. Alexa, play Wonder Outside podcast, and she'll probably cooperate. That's it for episode 2 highlights. I really appreciate you coming along, and Ranger Ted is out. I'll see you soon. Thanks.